Hello, welcome, LeaderBrand community. It's so great to be with you virtually and kick off Chalk Talk number 2. I'm very excited about this series. I just want to say I've actually lined up some guests for the next couple. I have Anne Marie Archer lined up. She's going to be joining us for LeaderBrand Chalk Talk in a couple of weeks here, talking about leading ourselves out of confusion. I'm super excited for that. I've also got an artist who's crafted an amazing brand filled with the power of story, who's going to be joining us a few weeks after that. So a lot of exciting things coming. Hoping that you're taking a little bit of time out for yourself each month just to think about how you can level up in small ways. So some years ago, one of my mentors said this very powerful statement to me. And so I want to share it with you. It was that small incremental changes make seismic impact. So, we don't have to transform overnight. We can just make small incremental changes along our path to crafting our powerful personal brand, and that will make seismic impact in our careers and also in our lives. And also in the lives of others, the others people that are around us that we are impacting for good. So I want to share today what I call my $1 million story. So some of you have heard this story. I apologize for that. You know me and my stories. I love to tell them. But today, so hang in there if you have heard this story, because today we're actually gonna, like, step by step, we're gonna chalk talk it. We're gonna break it down. So my story is this. Some years ago, I was giving a talk to a Fortune 100 company about the power of collaborative technology like Microsoft Teams. And I was telling this really cool story about NASCAR racing. And the NASCAR pit crews had adopted Teams to be able to do real-time collaboration on their pit changes. And the impact was that it shaved seconds off of their pit stops and ended up dramatically improving their race times overall, and they started winning. And so that was a really fun story. And I was telling that story, and I was noticing that there was sort of like moderate engagement from the room. And so I thought, okay, the challenge here is that I'm like not in the story. I'm not like bringing my full authentic self to the story. And I was like kind of on the fly thinking, how can I do that? How can I do a better job of really like being in the room with these people and making my own personal passion and my own personal interest in the subject matter more apparent. And so I stopped for a second and I related the story to my own life. And I said, look, you know, I'm not a race car driver, but I'm a solo parent. I was widowed some years ago and I'm raising a kid on my own. I'm a solo working parent. And I gotta say, every single day of my life feels like I'm on a racetrack. And that if I don't get every transition right, if I can't move seamlessly from meeting to meeting, from project to project without like a lot of hiccup in between and sort of trying to sort out where I am and where's my content and where's my data, then I lose those valuable moments and I end up like out of the race. And the loser in this situation is my kid. So if my day goes haywire, if my day goes off the tracks, I can't be the kind of parent that I want to be. I can't be there for my family at the end of the day. And when I told the story that way, when I made it personal, every single person in the room around the table was leaning in, was fully engaged. And from that moment, like the CEO actually stood up and said, I want this. How do I get this? And, in terms of the number of licenses and everything else, that was $1 million+ deal. And that changed in a moment of becoming authentic and real with the audience. So let's unpack this. Why did it work? So, a couple of things. Number one was that relatability. Relatability. I became one of them. I even when I changed the tone of my story and I started talking about myself and I started making it real and making it personal. I came out from the podium and I physically stepped like so that I was with them at the table and I told them my story as one of them, like, hey, I'm in this with you and I'm experiencing the same challenges that you're experiencing. And I'm having this experience of technology that's actually legitimately that I can tell you from my heart is helping me in my life. It's helping me manage this difficult situation of needing to be fully present at work and then wanting to be fully present in my life at home. Vulnerability. So that's the next point. Vulnerability. When I reveal something about myself, specifically when I reveal something about why I personally believe in and invested in the topic that I'm speaking about, then you, as my audience, are inclined to reciprocate. And what we're actually transacting in this moment is trust. So, vulnerability is I'm trusting you with this information about me. And so, there's this sort of social wiring that a lot of times we're not even cognizant about that basically is all right, you've been vulnerable with me. I'll be vulnerable with you. In this case, the CEO is like, I'm going to reveal to you that I'm interested, that I'm actually like you've sold me. I'm interested in solving this problem. I have this problem. We have this problem at our workplace too. We have people just like you who are working for us that we want to solve this problem for. How can we do that together? So it's like a little bit of social contracting, right? Be vulnerable. If I'm asking for your trust, I need to be a little bit vulnerable to earn that trust. So in this case, again, the CEO leapt forward and he was willing to reveal his interests. Before he was guarded about that, but since I had been vulnerable, he was willing to step in and be vulnerable with me. And in fact, he asked me to stay and we had this really wonderful conversation for about a half an hour, even beyond the session. So authenticity, that's the third thing that's happening here is people want to understand a little bit about who you are and why you are taking a stand. Are you actually personally invested in what you are selling them? So you may not be actually selling a product. In this particular story, I was involved in a sales meeting, but you may be selling an idea. You may be selling your leadership credibility to your team, right? You may be selling, right, your vision for how to take an organization forward, for example. So we're always kind of selling ideas and selling our point of view, right? So what you're selling, people want to understand, you know, how invested are you actually? Do you believe? Do you fully believe in what you're selling? Or are you kind of trying to sell me on an idea that, is, a little thin or not all there? Years ago, one of my mentors said, and he was a seller. So one of my mentors who was a seller said, I never try to sell somebody a deal I wouldn't take myself. I never try to sell somebody a deal I wouldn't take myself. So when we kind of apply that to whatever ideas we're selling, never be in the position of selling an idea, a product, a story that you're not fully bought in. Now, tell us why you're fully bought in. So if you kind of do this work to unpack this for yourself, either through journaling or something else, and you really get to that, I am fully bought in and this is why. Great. Now start thinking about how can you reveal that to your audience. And then lastly, do always land on the positive outcome or learning. So in this case, when I was vulnerable and I shared the detail about my life that I had been widowed some years ago and I'm a solo parent and I have this struggle, I went on to tell them the answer to the struggle. So in my case, the end of the story was I use Microsoft Teams in these ways that allow me to stay on track. And I demonstrated some of the very specific things that I do each my day and the way I keep my work and my virtual teams going in Microsoft Teams. And they were able to see that and see that solution. So I didn't land on the problem and then leave it on the problem. I started moving into that area of like, this is what I learned, or this is how I'm solutioning this. What we don't want to do is we don't share too much detail, or we don't share uncomfortable personal details because it's not about having an online therapy session or a group therapy session. We don't want to hear a lot of super personal details about the struggle or experience, because then we sort of put people in that uncomfortable place of feeling like they have to solution for us. We want the headline story. So we want enough detail to just understand like how am I becoming real for this person? How can they understand that, I share this experience with them? So that's my Chalk Talk today. Super excited to share that with you. Hope that you can find that a little, just a small, meaningful way that you can apply this story, this learning to your leadership, and your brand, your leader brand presence this month. That's what Chalk Talk is all about. So then I wanted to share one more exciting piece of information with you, which is that this month I am launching my first digital online course, and it's called LeaderBrand Method. Level up your LinkedIn in an afternoon. I'm really excited about this opportunity to, take all of like the great learnings that I've captured working one-on-one with clients over the last, several years, package it up into something meaningful that people can do and can start to action, in an afternoon and a weekend. So I've been hearing a lot of feedback about people who are super interested in leveling up their brand presence, but maybe making the leap into doing one-on-one coaching is either too time consuming or it just feels like a lot right now, with all the other things they're dealing with. And so very excited to launch this course. It's intended to be something super manageable that you can do, like I say, in an afternoon or in a couple of evenings over a weekend, etc. So if you have people in your community that have been asking about this kind of opportunity, or thinking about their personal brand, feel free to share it. And I am looking forward to hearing from each of you and how it's going in your world. So take care, level up together, and can't wait to see you next month.